Got it. All right, let's see if it's working. And it looks like it is. And even if it isn't, I'm just going to post this later. So that's really cool. Anyway, hey, welcome everybody to this is amazing, the 122nd meeting of the Mastermind Roundtable. I am even impressed with that because, I've never been known to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Continuous in so many things that I've been doing. But I guess for the last 25 years, I have gone
Mike is against the law.
prior to that, right, David? I mean, prior everything was changing with me like on a daily basis. It's the only thing that I'm still in that mode with is cars, and that is as soon as I need new tires on a car, I know it's time to sell it because I don't know how to replace the tires. That's that, so I buy new cars when that happens. But other than that, man, I've been so consistent in what I've been doing, and so just like focused on it, like 25 years doing Sound Broker. I never did 25 years on anything, it was like crazy. And now 122 episodes of this, that's even crazier than that. Who would have thought that I would be doing this for so long? And I'm enjoying it. And I've decided that, as soon as I get some free time, not that I don't have free time, but free time that I could dedicate to promoting this even more, I would like to do that because I would really like to, I think I would like to stop doing everything and just do this for a living.
There are people that do that and they make a really good amount of money.
Yeah. I think that's it, but I don't think the audio business is going to support me, or the production business would support that kind of show. I have to get into talking about other things like maybe sex. Sex would do it, but for right now, we have to put that on the table. By the way, listen, so if I haven't said it, welcome everybody. And just remember, everything you hear today is an opinion. We've got so much news to cover. This has been a busy week for news. I guess there's so many number one things. What the number one thing is going in New York. We've already talked about it in the pre-show, so we're not going to bring it back up. But I do want to bring up the Apple event again, because there was some interesting stories with Apple, and that happened to be that iFixit did a teardown of the iPhone 14. And if you're listening to the reviews out there, they're all saying that the iPhone 14, no big deal. You could pass on this, just maybe the Pro Max is. But it turns out that iFixit ripped this phone apart, and not only have they fixed my pet peeve, which is no phone company talks about how good their cell service is. I mean, it's called a cell phone, and yet nobody talks about how the reception is with the cell phone. But iFixit, they got into it, and the antenna wiring in the new iPhone is off the hook spectacular. Not only that, it's given him a repair rating of 7. So basically, now for the first time, people can repair the iPhone, and replacing the glass on the iPhone, either the front or the back, will no longer be so expensive that you can't afford it and you have to buy a new phone. So that is basically the number one thing about the new iPhone, is that they've changed the interior design of the iPhone to be much more repairable, and better reception and better Wi-Fi, and those things are really important because we use the phone for everything out there. But I'm debating on whether I'm going to get the new. I was talking about this, and maybe you have a comment on this, David or Greg. Do I go get the new iPod Pros, or do I go with the Bose? Because the new Bose seem to be like off the hook good, and they're even better than the Sonys. And I love my Sonys. I mean, I decided to buy the Sony over-the-ear headset instead of the Bose over-the-ear headset, the WH-1000s, I believe. So anybody have any comments on that?
Not me. I don't use them, so I have nothing to say.
Yep. Okay. Well, let me.
Yeah, I only use them when I travel.
Yeah. Well, what I find is that, yeah, that's the time you use it. I find that going to the gym and using them in the gym, it's just not effective. These little things are just great for that. Unobtrusive, very, very good. Anyway, moving on.
I was using my molded earpieces on airplanes.
There you go.
I found that those, I have those as well, but what I found is the noise cancellation on those is is no good, and I was getting too much jet plane noise
Really?
with the Apple AirPods. These things that I'm using, these are the pros. They are very, very good, but it gets tiresome keeping them in your ear. Your ear gets hot. You start to sweat a little bit. You know, it just becomes, after a while, it becomes slightly uncomfortable because of the tips that Apple uses to seal your ear canal. And also, it kind of it does it even with the transparency mode. And if you don't know what that is, it means that you're wearing a headset, and yet you could still hear the outside ambient noise. And then they have the cancellation mode, and then they have an off mode. But basically, you still feel a little bit isolated because of the way it fits into your ear. The new ones, they have a smaller tip as well, and there's going to be an industry that's going to come along that's going to be accessories to the AirPod Max. But the question is what do I get next? And so that's what I'm thinking about. But speaking of this, listen to this. This story kind of got me a little bit crazy. It says that right now, 1,500 hours is what you need to be you have to have 1,500 hours of experience before you can be hired as an airline pilot. And the regional airline Republic Airway asked the FAA to loosen the commercial pilot hiring standards, which drew I mean, I can't even believe it. 1,500 hours doesn't seem like a lot of hours as it is to be have the credibility of being a qualified airline pilot. I mean, there's so
Yeah,
many
but that's
people on
stick
those
time
planes.
too. That's in the cockpit hours, you know? So if you're a co-pilot and you have a 3-hour flight, yeah, you get 3 hours in there. It's probably 2.5 hours, really. So 1,500 is right, you know, lowering that standard.
Yeah, I mean, if I think that if I knew that was the case, I don't think that I would want to fly on that airline.
But they're not going to lower it. They got a resounding no.
Right. And I agree, David.
Sure.
Yep. Anyway, and then nobody's here from Las Vegas but me, but the Las Vegas Aces won their first WNBA. Well, actually, that's not true. Tina's in the room, and Tina might have a comment on this. The Las Vegas Aces won their first WNBA title win over Connecticut Sun this week. That's pretty cool. I mean, you know, Las Vegas has another champion team.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first one that you won a championship.
Oh, we didn't.
The Raiders haven't won anything yet.
Well, the Vegas Golden Knights won the cup the first year.
Oh, they did?
There you go.
Yeah, and that's why I can't understand why they kept saying this is Vegas's first championship. No, the Golden Knights won the cup. It's ridiculous. All over the news, they keep repeating Vegas's first championship, like we don't have the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, didn't they? But didn't they? They didn't win the Stanley Cup, right?
That's what the cup is, the Stanley Cup. Yes.
Oh, they did win the Stanley Cup.
Yes, the first year.
There you have it. So I guess I got to follow more hockey. No.
Yep.
But anyway, it's a good thing that Las Vegas is one more thing that Las Vegas has to offer the world. So by the way, I have a house for sale in Las Vegas, or actually an office building, but it could be a house if you wanted to make it a house. So if you want to live to Las Vegas, there you go. Anyway, this is another story in the news that I thought was, I mean, what were they thinking? All right, this is in that category. What were they thinking? Walmart customers slammed the new feature requiring photos in your underwear for tight-fitting clothes because Walmart has now introduced a new app or a new way to buy clothes at Walmart. It's called Be Your Own Model. Not making this up. We're talking about Walmart here, you know, and so basically the idea is you take pictures of yourself in really tight-fitting clothes or naked, and then you could be able to try on their clothes virtually to see how it fits and what it looks like for you. I mean, that to me is like, whoa, Walmart's, what do you think? You know, haven't you looked at your customer base when they go into the store? I mean, really, please give me a break. But of course, you know, the thing is they're saying, you know, the advocates, well, there's not many advocates, but the distractors are saying, well, what about the children? You know, this could be considered pornography if it gets into the wrong hands. But the reality is, Walmart says is that there's a disclaimer that you have to say that you are over 18 years old to get permission to use the site and the app.
But
So
that's
has
terrible.
anybody tried that?
That's terrible. Somebody else tried that before and it didn't go well, and this is just awful. I mean,
Yeah, they also have a surrogate model that you could use their model as well. But the whole thing is, of course, they wanted to go with being your own model, which just doesn't seem to me like if I could see Victoria's Secret having that would be a good thing, But Walmart's not so much. Anyway, moving on. Did you know that the $2 bill is still in circulation?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's out of circulation, but this year they will issue more than 200 million $2 bills this year. However, they're saying that the reason why it never took off is that people think that it's superstitious to have bad luck to have a $2 bill. And actually, I think it's a great idea because when you go into a restaurant and you leave a tip, I'm not saying I'm leaving small tips like $2 wherever I go, but still nonetheless, when you tip somebody and you give them a $2 bill, it stands out in their mind. Wow, a $2 bill.
Well, I would say it was great for valet park because usually you give them $2. So
Yeah. And then, of course, they look at it and they say, it's like a gift certificate where they don't use the whole amount. They keep the $2 bill as, because it's hard to spend, I guess, whatever.
or maybe they're just trying to negate the fact that the $2 bill has a black man on the back of it.
It does?
Yes, it does.
Huh. Well, I'll have to go look. I don't have any with me right now.
Yeah.
Which black man does it?
He was a business guy out there. His name is Robert Morris.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we learned that in history.
There you go.
So, I mean,
There it is.
there it is.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that's-
he's sitting down right here, right in the front.
Oh, well, good
Yeah.
for him. Well, I'm glad he got a chance to sit. That's it on the bill. Otherwise, all these years, he'd be tired from standing up if he was still on that,
But- The way the dollar is right now, a $2 tip in Thailand, Jan, is a pretty good one, actually.
Oh yeah, $2 tip is an amazing tip, but most people here they don't tip. It's just I hate to say it like this, but they did a survey that I read that the number one tourist that they dislike the most is Americans, except for the fact that Americans tip better than all of the other nations. So they accept Americans because we tip better.
Well, I just came from Japan where there's no tipping and it's great. They get paid for what they do. They have the attitude to do the great job, so you don't have to tip for better service. And tips are almost an insult. So it's really
there are
nice.
some countries like that, and there's also countries like that where especially in Europe, where the tip is already included in the price. And they love Americans because Americans don't look at the check, so they tip again.
Right.
Speaking of great monies, did you guys read this story that the people that own Patagonia, it's a private company,
Yep.
and basically this guy is pretty off the hook amazing. He has donated his company right now to a charity that will ensure that 98% of the company's annual profits will go to combat climate change. And what this guy did was he paid the taxes out of his own pocket. He paid the taxes out of his own pocket to be able to do this, which was millions and millions of dollars. So that is really, really cool. I mean, there is a true patriarch of the world who wants to see our children breathe fresh air, which is great. So
He's also one of the in Patagonia. He bought up as much land as he could, and then turned it into a nature preserve, a conservatory. No development in Patagonia. There was a thing on, I forget where I saw it. It was on the BBC or something. He was a multi-billionaire. I think he owned one of the big, Great North, or one of the big outdoor clothing manufacturers. And he walked away from the company, and he and his wife live in Patagonia, and which is an amazing part of the world. You know, definitely go there during the US's winter, which is their summer, and it's amazing.
Isn't it a mountain community? Isn't that Patagonia in the mountains?
Mountain, sea, it's all over the place.
It's got the
huge.
Andes.
Yeah, it goes from the Andes right down to the Great Horn.
Wow, I guess it's not on my to-do list to visit there, but I might have to change my to-do list to add Patagonia to places
Yep.
to see before I die.
Also,
There was
I think there's a desert there that's one of the driest spots on earth.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So it's got,
Atacama, something like that. I don't know.
it's rained like an eighth of an inch in the last 500 years or something
Wow.
insane.
Not like Puerto Rico, where it rained 2 feet of water in like what, a couple of hours? 2 feet of water.
They had
Over
31
24
inches.
of water.
They had 31 inches of rain in Ponce, which is on the southern coast of Puerto Rico, within 48 hours. 31 inches of rain.
That is a ton of water. That is a ton of
Mhm.
water. Well, they know how to measure this kind of stuff. Oh well. So another cool thing that's happening right now is that I just read this great article about a guy by the name of William A. Mitchell. Does that name mean anything to anybody in this room? William A. Mitchell?
Yeah. What the heck?
Doesn't ring a bell to me.
Well,
Yeah.
if you've ever had Jello, Tang, Pop
Oh, that's how
Rocks,
that's how I
or
know.
Cool Whip, this is the guy you have to thank for. He was the head food chemist at General Mills, and he single-handedly created, well, maybe he had a staff of people working, but it was his concept to create Jello, Tang, Pop Rocks, and Cool Whip, just 4 of his major accomplishments to the food world.
Yeah,
all of which
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
are delicious, but not good for you.
But he figured out how to get the water out of stuff so you can add water back to it. So Jello, Pop Rocks, all that stuff is just missing the water complement. Tang, the orange drink, that was all him.
It's almost like making
Yeah.
astronauts not food, huh? How they freeze dry it. The steak to last for 10 years freeze dried. You just pour water on it and recook it, and it's good.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is that I always thought the Tang was developed for the astronauts, but it turns out it's the other way around. He developed it, and then the astronauts say, "Oh, that's a cool thing. We could take this up to space because then all we have to do is add a little water, and it's compact."
Well, that's because the water tasted terrible in space. With the containers they had to keep it in, added a flavor to it, a metallic flavor to it. So the Tang took away that metallic flavor. So they loved it.
Yeah. And the other thing that he invented that is kind of quashed, he invented, and you said taking away water, he invented a dry alcohol that all you have to do, it's a powder that you could add water, but General Mills was anti-alcohol, so they kind of quashed that. But he basically had an idea how to make a waterless or a liquidless alcohol that you could just add water, and but for some reason that never came about.
Well, I could just see that at customs. How many packets do you have? Are you carrying with you, sir? Oh, you have 5 packets. Okay, that's custom duty.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, no, definitely. So, so it seems that and you would never have thought this, but speaking of different things we ingest, that cannabis sales are sparking upward on a worldwide, but not all sellers are feeling the high. How do you like that? That's good writing. I have to tell you, whoever wrote that headline. But basically, it seems that a lot of these guys that are growing cannabis now their profits are down 50%, and U.S. legalization slows. So basically, one company is down 80%. But it seems like when it hashes out the results tomorrow, they said after they smoke their product, they don't really care. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
Did you just say when it hashes out?
Yes.
Yeah.
When it hashes out. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. I wish I wrote that, but I just copied and pasted from an article that I read. It wasn't my
Yeah,
own
I
words.
saw a thing online actually, Jan, that in Central Mall in Bangkok, they had in the center area there a whole cannabis, section, and they were sitting there selling, right there. It looked
Oh,
like
there is so many cannabis places opening right now here where I am here in Rawai. So I'm sure it's on a nationwide basis that they're doing it as well. And I'm sure that the growth of marijuana here would be amazingly prolific
profitable.
because
Yeah.
everything grows well here, and the fruit. Oh my God! If you come to Thailand for no other reason but to taste the fruit and the vegetables are sweeter here and so good and so fresh. The food is amazingly fresh. And also it's kind of like, it's like the main thing that most women take pictures of here. If you look at any Thai woman's Facebook page, you will see multiple pictures of food. And man, every meal they eat, no matter where it is, they're taking photos of it and posting it up online. And this food it looks good, but it tastes off the hook good until you get it too spicy. Then you're like your whole face starts on fire. It's crazy. I have to make sure that when they ask me if I want it spicy, I have to say my pet, which is no spice. No spice. Otherwise, it could really get spicy fast. Although I am developing a taste for the spice. But I find that, thank God I brought my Tums with me. That's all I could say. Speaking of that kind of stuff, that I don't know if you I don't know what the ages they start this with, but basically when I go to the doctor now, they ask me all these questions about my mental health. Just they'll give you like horse, toaster, and you have to repeat it back. I can't even remember the four that they gave me, so maybe I do have beginning stages of memory loss. But anyway, they're now saying for the first time now that they want this to happen for people under 65, because it seems like there's so much anxiety right now in the society that a panel of medical experts on Tuesday recommended for the first time that doctors screen all adult patients under 65 for anxiety, guidance that highlights and the extraordinary stress levels that have plagued the United States since the start of the pandemic. And there is an interesting article about that in the New York Times, which we'll throw into the show notes as well. But I will tell you, I know what it's like to have anxiety, and I'm sure everyone in this room and everyone who's listening to me can relate to that. Even if life is good, there's still anxiety, So.
Yep, loaded in for a DJ show. That's anxiety.
Yep. Now, one of the things that somebody's got anxiety about, and I don't know if you read this, and I would love to get your opinion on this as well, is that Apple shot a movie before Will Smith had that famous slap on the Academy. Of course, he's no longer in the Academy, but they shot a movie about emancipation with Will Smith, and it cost them $120 million. And now they're debating whether or not they can release it or not because of the controversy over Will Smith and slapping Chris Rock. I wondered what you guys thought about that. Do you think that that would be a smart idea, or is that too woke by Apple to not to release it? I mean, I know that if I had shot the movie before that, I would have no problem at all saying, well, I put $120 million into this. I don't care what he did. I'm putting it out anyway. I mean, I got my own avenue. What is it? Is it going to hurt me? Is people going to, who did it really offend the most? And is Will Smith's career over just because he did something that, was unspeakable? He shouldn't have done it. What do you guys think? Would you go watch a movie with Will Smith in it right now?
Yeah.
It'd have to be a good movie, but sooner or later, time wounds, all heals, you know?
Yep.
Or time
Yeah.
heals wounds.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you inverted that yet. You're not over
Yeah,
your
yeah.
jet lag, David.
It goes both ways. Time wounds all heals and time heals all wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. Anyway, hey Kurt, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good job there on the
Catering.
the Vince Edwards show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It went quickly. I thought it was going to be a very long, slow experience, but time flies when you're having fun.
That's right. Time flies, and of course, it's not the whole show. You know, you're only part of the segment of his main show, but it's a really entertaining show. He makes it very entertaining.
It
And
was
so
nice that he
kudos to
broke
him.
his in-ear pack before I had to say anything, because it kind of takes the pressure off when
Yeah,
following that. So
yeah.
it was
for
good,
sure.
though. It went well. He was real nice.
Yeah. Yes, he's a super nice guy, and I guess he seems to be having some hair issues, eh?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I thought that was a play on words. Kurt Hair. I mean,
Oh.
said so. Oh
Different
well,
spell.
another
spelled.
bad joke. Another bad joke for those people who are listening and paying any attention to what I'm saying. All right. Let's see, what else can we talk about? NASA's Preservation rover has collected some samples on Mars that they think could prove that there was life on Mars at one time, hundreds of millions of years ago. Actually, 3.5 billion years ago, that there could have been life on Mars.
Did they get proof that Keith Richards was there or something?
Yeah, that's it. Bringing it back to no, it could have been Keith Richards. Could have been Keith Richards. I think it's Methuselah, but it's okay. Or Nostradamus. They were there for a while. But the reality is that that's 3.5 billion years ago that life could have existed on Mars. But the only way they're going to be able to prove it is when they could bring it back to the United States. So now they're working on it. I mean, this is pretty intense, rocket science, where they're figuring out a way how to get people to Mars to harvest what the samples are and then bring it back to Earth. That is impressive.
I thought the latest rover is set up so that another device can go to Mars and bring back the samples. In other words,
Yeah.
the samples are held in some sort of device that's removable, and they'll bring it back to Earth. Remotely, no people.
Well, that would be pretty impressive, don't you think?
Well, yeah, and I think that's part of the plan. I read about that.
Maybe they should send Will Smith.
Yeah.
That might not be a bad idea. Maybe not a bad idea.
When you brought up that line about Keith Richards, Kurt, it reminded me of a joke. I think Robin Williams did. He said, yeah, if there was nuclear war on Earth, all there would be left is Keith Richards and a cockroach. And Keith would be going, you want to hit?
Pretty much. Think about all the people he's outlived, like Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. And I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Somebody sent me a picture of Keith Richards leaning over with a baby. And it says, Keith Richards meeting Queen Elizabeth for the first time.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Well, yeah. He's been around a long time. I read his book called Life. If you've never read it, it's like 400 and something pages, which is amazing. But man, that guy, the reason he called it Life is, he says, because he's lived more life than anyone else on the planet, because he stayed up so many days in a row.
I felt like I had to check into rehab just because I read the book.
Yeah, but it was a great book. I mean, I thought it was like really in depth, and there was no punches pulled, and it was a legitimate book on rock and roll and the Rolling Stones. If you haven't read it, it's called Life, Keith Richards. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
You're frozen, Jan.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I feel that way myself. I feel frozen. So let me stop this and then start it again. And there we go. We're back in business here. Another thing that's interested is like, now this story really got me angry. It seems that the 44 people in Minnesota took advantage of the pandemic aid relief. And basically, it wasn't just aid relief that they took advantage of, that they stole $240 million intended to feed children. That's it. It appears the largest theft so far. And this woman, Amy Bach, was indicted on charges of wire fraud, bribery involving federal programs. And she was on the inside, and she was money laundering all this $240 million. She's got all these, there was like 44 people she got involved to steal money from feeding children. I mean, how much lower can you get than that? Stealing money from food for kids. I mean, really. I
So
guess
you could
there's
round up a
special
bunch of
place in hell
innocent-
for some people like that.
You could round up a bunch of innocent refugees and send them to Martha's Vineyard. That's pretty low.
Yeah, that is pretty low. And that's, I mean, you realize, of course, that they might have broken a few laws there. Which would be considered human trafficking. But we will see what happens on that. You know, it just seems like no matter what they say out there about the law being equal and blind, I think that even though it might be blind, it's definitely not equal. And if you've got big money, then you can avoid a lot of the problems that the law can give the poor. I mean, depending on how much money you have and how much power you have, it seems that you can avoid a lot of the pratfalls that the average schnook goes through with the law. You know, and that to me is just totally unfair.
Maybe sending them to a community that's full of rich, accomplished, and likely bored attorneys was maybe a bad idea.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. I think that was, you know, that is it, probably so. But it's more than that. I've been to Martha's Vineyard, and it's beautiful there. But the thing is they misled them. They gave them brochures of as they were going on this trip to actually be relocated to find work and housing. And of course, that wasn't true. And plus, it doesn't make any sense to me in regards to that, where that the governor of Florida shipped these people from Texas.
Yeah,
That's something that
they
I don't
use my
understand.
tax money. I want my portion of that $12 million back.
Well, they gave them
Okay.
$10 McDonald's gift certificates. So
Oh, that's it. Oh,
you got
okay.
that going for you.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was, and I don't remember there being a McDonald's on Martha's Vineyard.
That's
I mean,
how
maybe
part of how they
opened one since-
No, I think that's how they coerced them to get on the bus to go to the plane.
Anyway, it's you know, it's uncool. It's uncool for sure. I mean, but there's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things that are uncool, but that's one of them as well. You know, did you hear about this, that the speaking of the rich, that they've got there's a new position for the rich called a luxury lifestyle manager, and they're fixers. Basically, what they do is they get things done for the super rich that they can't do on their own. So, like, for example, they need they need, let's just say, for argument's sake, they need to get a ticket on an airplane that they can't get themselves for whatever reason. There are people that will go up to the top level of the airlines, get somebody kicked off the plane so that these rich people can get on a flight, or basically reservations in a restaurant, or get a car, or get something that they couldn't get on their own, but to pay extra money for, that they could get. And they actually have a title for these people called fixers or luxury lifestyle managers. That to me is like, and it's not their personal assistants. It's actually a position that some people have created for themselves, that they get things done for the super rich that nobody else can seem to get done for the super rich. So I'd like to apply for that job. I think that's a high-paying job, you know? Oh, well. Here's a flash, in case you didn't know it. The Senate is now looking into a fact that you can't delete something once it's on the internet. That once it hits the internet, it's no longer private.
Yeah, it's called
I
the
don't know about that.
wayback.org.
Yeah, you know, so it's basically, you know, I can't believe they're looking into it. It's pretty obvious to me, and I've always been told that if anything goes on the internet, no matter how it goes on the internet, it's there forever. You're never going to get it off. Except, of course, if you work for the Secret Service, then those things can disappear. I don't know how that happens. But, on a sad note, Roger Federer announced that he's no longer going to be playing professional sports. He will, you know, or should I say, he's no longer going to be playing tennis. There's a rumor that he's taking up pickleball, but that's a rumor I just started, just in case you didn't know. So,
Joe, that means you and Bo are going down now. Yeah.
How about this? Michael Jordan's 1998 NBA Finals shirt sold for $10 million.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's it. He
That
wore
is
this
crazy.
game. He wore it. Yeah, $10 million. I wonder if it was washed after he wore it. That's the thing. You know, that's where my mind goes.
No, it wouldn't be worth anything if it was washed.
Yeah, so you got, you know, so you, for $10 million, you bought some of his DNA, and if you're a rocket scientist or a chemist or something like that, you can harvest his DNA and create your own Michael Jordans, I guess. Well, how about this? Scientists.
I got a Prince
go ahead.
story for you. Prince,
Yeah.
a friend of mine. Well, you work for Prince, so you'll find this a little interesting. In Paisley Park, a friend of mine built Paisley Park. His name was Red White. I don't know if you knew him. He was a sound mixer for Melissa Manchester, I think. His brother Jack White was a road manager for Manhattan Transfer. So he builds Paisley Park, and he ran it, did the maintenance on it, and you know, he lived on an island. He took a boat to work. He just had this life of Paisley Park. And I remember seeing him one time, and he gave me a coffee mug, a Paisley Park coffee mug with gold around the lip on the top. And it was great. I used to use it for pens because I don't drink coffee and all that. And then a friend of mine turned out to be a really serious Prince fan. Prince this, Prince that. He's an acting coach. And so after having this mug for 30 years, I gave it to him as a gift. Oh man, he was like, it was in heaven, a Paisley Park coffee mug. He sent me an email. He says, you remember that coffee mug you gave me? He said, yeah. He says, well, it turns out it was a part of a set of 6 that Prince owned and drank coffee out of. And the only one left in existence, according to what they thought, just sold for $1,800. And I have another one. Thank you very much. So, you know, I had no idea what I had, but he does now.
Well, that's good, man. That's a happy story.
Yeah.
Very happy story. I mean, you know, there are happy stories out there.
I had no idea.
If you have, let's see, what else could I tell you? The scientists and activists are pushing for monkeypox virus to be renamed. They're worrying that the stigmatism of having monkeypox could steer people away from getting tested and vaccinated because they think it comes from monkeys, basically having sex from monkeys. So that's crazy that they're going to rename a disease because of that. But there's a push right now to have that done. I don't think monkeypox is one of those things I'm really worried about, though. Oh, well.
Unless you get it.
Let's see. Yeah, I guess unless you get it. Nissan's recalling over 200,000 pickup trucks due to a risk that the vehicle could roll away while in park. That's a pretty serious thing. The owners affected, the parking brakes don't seem to work because of the transmission, basically. I don't know how many that happened to, but they just recalled over 200,000 of them. So if you have a Nissan truck, Be careful where you park. Make sure you park on level ground. Otherwise, it could roll away. That's your tip of the day. Let's see, what else do we need to know? Surfshark. Anybody use a VPN out there? Well, if you use a VPN, basically Surfshark is offering some money to those people who refer other people. So I'll throw that link out into the charts over there for you guys to get it. So if you look, I love the VPN. I actually, Surfshark is my favorite one of them all. And that's because they have an actual Las Vegas location for the VPN, which works really well for me. So in case anybody looking for a VPN, Surfshark, the Surfshark Club for a Friend, we'll throw that into the chat as well, so that you can get great VPN. At least I think it's a great VPN, and you can help me get a free month. So that's it. Let's see, what else could we talk about? Let's see.
Hey, Kurt, are you at a gig? What gig?
I'm at a big theater in Seattle. It's attached to where the Seahawks play, called Lamu Theater, and it's I can't even pronounce the name, but it's a Latin American kind of 90s pop star guy. I mean, it's all real people playing real instruments. Can't argue with that. Sounds cool.
Yep.
Everybody's a pro, real nice crew. It's been a good day.
Cool.
Good. It's good to see us working. There's a lot of people working right now. More people are working than not in our industry. Probably one of the reasons why I am, that we are as busy as we are as well, which is a good thing. I think the supply chain issues are starting to disappear a little bit. I'm hearing about people getting orders of Yamaha consoles. I'm hearing people getting orders of Digico consoles. I'm hearing people of getting Avid consoles now. So the supply chain issues are starting to dissipate a little bit. I even know somebody who just got a stage delivered. So that means some aluminum is coming back into the world. So I think the supply chain issues of our industry might be a thing of the past, which is a really good thing. One of the things though that I do
there's still
see,
some things like wireless mics and all that that's not really happening yet.
yeah, also amplifiers. The amplifiers are still on back ordered. So there is some amplifier issues that people are having problems getting. And that's one of the things that's holding D&B from shipping as well. So, but things are starting to come back into things are starting to come back into the world that had disappeared for a while, which is a good thing,
Shure said
And-
yesterday they were backed up for 8 to 10 months.
Wow, 8 to 10 months. That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
somebody
wired
inquired
mic.
about an Axiom.
Yeah, wireless, yes. Wired mics, I actually got some. You could get mic cable for a brief moment, but now they're out of mic cable again. And Neutrik parts, XLRs, PowerCon, all that stuff. A brief little window, and now it's pretty much gone again.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. Oh well, let's see what else. I only have a couple more stories to go. Mortgage rates just went over 6%, which is not good if you're buying a house. Although I remember at one point back in the 70s that mortgage rates were like 18% and people were still buying houses. So I guess what it's really done is it's raised the ability for people to get houses, so that now the rental market is going crazy, whereas the rental rates are going higher and higher, which is really not good. Once again, the people that get squeezed are the poorer people on the planet. Those guys that are rich don't seem to, they're just making money. Guys that are poor, it's costing them more money. It just seems that there's no fairness in the society in that respect. But that's life. That's life. That's what the people say, to quote Frank Sinatra. Oh, I know. There was a article that came out about swearing, and the United States of Cursing is what it's called. We'll throw the link. We can't really talk about it, but it seems that the number one person's name who curses the most are people named Kai. I guess that's what it is. So we'll throw that in and see how. Let's see here if I could. Let's see if I could look at this myself and see if where. Let's see where we stand by various states. Let's see. Where is the most cursing? Let's see. In 1972, comedian George Carlin delivered the legendary monologue, The 7 Words You Can't Say on TV. Let's see. Yeah, everybody would guess what the number one swear word is. It's 4 letters, starting with the letter F. That is used more than, 11.62 uses for every 1,000 posts. Let's see. Minnesota, it's a little bit higher. Atlanta, a little bit lower. Anyway, this is a boring story. I just thought I'd throw it in. You guys could look at it yourself at your own leisure. And that's about it for me. I don't think I have anything else that I want to say. So let's open it up. Who's got something that they do want to say?
Well, we were talking in the pre-show about all the new phones coming out require eSIMs. And if you travel worldwide, there are countries that the telecom they don't have eSIM in the country. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that pans out.
Yeah, well, here in Thailand, and we were talking about this, and I guess we could expand on it for those people who have never heard this coming from our lips before. Here in Thailand, I have the iPhone 13 Max, which broke here, and so I got one here in Thailand, and it does have a tray for a SIM, and it has an eChip, and so I have my T-Mobile chip in the tray, and I have an eSIM for the Thai line that I have. How do you like that? A Thai line, you get that? Thai line for those people in our industry. But basically, yeah, and it works perfectly. But I could see how the challenge would be if you didn't have a SIM chip, how difficult that would be, because when you go to the airport and you go into a foreign country, the first thing you do is you buy a chip. And if that's the case, if it's now an eSIM, how hard is that going to be for them to put into your phone from a standalone person selling it at the airport? I think that's going to be more difficult. So what that I believe is going to do is make the last generations of phone with a tray a little bit more valuable. It's going to maintain their pricing. I'm not really jumping in. I'm not ready to buy an iPhone 14. I'm very happy with my 13. It really works great, does everything I need. And I don't think that the changes to have 48, I mean, the only change I see that really makes it a much better phone would be the camera and the ability to shoot in 48K. But 48K, that just takes up so much memory, and
Right.
It's so hard to transfer that kind of video footage to get it off the phone.
Well, it's
so what
not
do I need?
video. It's raw format photos, and each file is 56 megabytes per picture. So that makes sense why the 14 you can get 1 terabyte of storage in your phone.
Yeah. It just seems like that's too much. And I guess the new phones that are really the coolest phones that I've seen are these flip phones. Have you seen these phones that open up and then, they're just phones that are normal size, but when you open them, the screen, they become like the size of an iPad or a tablet. Those are really cool. Samsung's got a few of them. I think those are great. I mean, now I'm thinking, that, of course, my architecture right now, I'm so deep into the Apple architecture that it would be hard for me to go and use anything other than an iPhone or an Apple-based product. But still, just for, eventually I went away from what I was using to Apple, so maybe I can go back the other way. But we'll see what happens. Apple stock is going up, though, so it's a good thing. Anybody else have anything they want to say? Well, if that's the case, then I think we'll just we'll go offline right now. Wish everybody a great week. And we'll be back next week for the 123rd episode of the show. I'll try to have more humor in the show next week, if we can, so we can all have some good laughs. I'll look for funny stuff. I mean, I've been watching a lot of YouTube and TikTok videos. Some of them are really funny, man. Some of that Dry Comedy Bar is really, really good, if you haven't seen it. So, but anyway, with that in mind, I want to thank you all for watching. Just remember, you make it happen. Everything you heard is an opinion today. And we will see you again next week for the 123rd episode of the Roundtable. Until then, take care and be safe. And remember, once again, you make it happen. So go out and make it happen and have a great